Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited. This episode of Ignited is brought to you by Chosen Foods, a San Diego-based health food company best known for starting the avocado oil craze.
You know, I love avocado oil because I can't burn down the kitchen. I mean, it has a really, really high smoke point, like 500 degrees, and a really beautiful neutral flavor, so I don't mess up the food even if I forget it on the stove for a little too long, which, let's admit, happens every once in a while.
Chosen Foods offers a variety of healthy fats and clean label products like avocado oil mayo and avocado-based salad dressings, so yummy. And they're helping people on their wellness journey through the promotion of natural, real food made with clean label ingredients.
So for 50% off your order of $10 and more, all you got to do is visit chosenfoods.com/ignited and use promo code IGNITED50. That's IGNTD 50 during checkout.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Podcast. I am Adi Jaffe,
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
and we're bringing you the best of the best. We got a really fun episode here today. I'm loving our guests. I always loved our guests, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe we've gotten better at getting these conversations going because I feel like they're fun and
Inspiring.
and informational at the same time now.
Yeah.
Which is really, really dope. So we've got Kim Caldwell, who, you know, I remember when she was on American Idol.
That's so funny you do.
Yeah, totally. Because they had those huge billboards on Olympic and Doheny right by the freeway where they would have all the people and then they would mark them off.
That's so funny.
As they got, and she, made it to the final. So she was one of the ones that stuck around for the longest.
I would never pay attention to something like that, as you know.
Sophie is the person who doesn't pay attention to, if you're walking down the street, if you've ever had this, just stay with me here for a second. And there's somebody wearing
a clown suit.
A clown suit, but not just a clown suit, because you might see a clown in the street. Like a clown suit with big red devil, horns on top. And they're screaming at the top of their lungs at their phone, yelling at someone while carrying a dog who's yapping in another hand, and we'll walk past this person. I go, damn, what was that? And Sophie will go, what? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm just focusing on the internal, guys.
Yeah, she's constantly meditating.
I'm
is
just
what's happening.
a constant walking meditation. I'm that mindful that I don't notice what's going on around me.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go with that. It's crazy because in our relationship, there have been so many moments exactly like the one I just described. I'm like, wow, that was really weird. Sophie has no idea. And then you feel awkward. I'm not going to ask you to turn around and look at the weird thing that we just walked. Because it's not just people. It's dogs or a weird thing you'd see in the street. Sophie has no idea.
Yeah, I'm not a people watcher. I'm just not. At the gym, I don't notice anyone else. I'm in my own bubble. I'm not, when I'm out in the world, I'm just focused on myself and what's going on in my world. And sometimes I'm not even thinking of anything, which I think was a huge thing in our relationship, was when you realize that I just actually can be sitting still, not doing anything. I'm not thinking about anything. I
still don't really believe you deep inside. I think you're lying to me. But
anyway,
I remember the first conversation. It was almost like a fight that we were having early on in the relationship.
Yeah.
We were driving. I'll never forget this. We were on the 405 going to the valley. I don't even know why we were going there, but we were going to your parents. So we were going to end up at your parents' house, and we were kind of in this little fight. And then you went, you know what? I'm done with this. Let's just put this aside, and I don't want to think about this anymore. I'm kind of done thinking. And I'm sorry, what? What do you? Now you're just going to shut this off somehow? I'm stuck with this in my head now. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, self-discipline, right?
I love it. No, I'm a fan. Speaking of fans, by the way, don't forget to take a screenshot of this for us and share it and tell us what you like about our podcast.
Thank you so much for all your shares on Instagram, on Twitter, on on the reviews. I see you're sharing on Facebook. Like, I see all of those shares. So even if I don't respond to them, I see them. It warms my heart. Thank you for sharing it with your friends, with your colleagues, maybe someone.
Your grandparents.
Yeah, this could resonate with someone that you know well. And we just really appreciate you sharing the love. Your grandparents? What are you talking about? Like, what grandparent wants to listen to us talk about like these crazy topics?
I was at this conference and somebody I'm not, it's Russell Brunson, but he said something like, Snapchat. Anybody remember Snapchat? And people were like, yes, we're all still on it, Russell. Like, just because you don't use it. So I was just thinking
especially if you're between the ages of 15 and 25, I'm sure that's like the main thing that you're using.
Yeah, I'm pushing the envelope on that. So I'm probably going to stop using Snapchat as I cross over the 25.
You don't even have Snapchat on your phone.
I do not.
Why are you so full of shit today?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
I don't know what's going on.
Ignore everything that he said.
So for our fan of the week today, we've got...
This is a real... I see the phone in his hand, guys. Like, he's actually reading a fan right now. Okay.
Why would I lie to you all about this?
You've been lying all morning. Can't with you.
So this is from Fangirling Jen, and she says the best, and best is all caps, so you know it's really the best. 5-star little iTunes rating, which we always love. And the review is, I cannot get enough of this podcast. I just recently found it and feel so connected and in tune with everyone Sophie and Adi say. I'm assuming that's what everything Sophie and Adi say. I'm ignited by the conversation. Yay. On this podcast, and love the openness, sincerity, and vulnerability. Thank you both for sharing your stories. This podcast is truly a gift. I look forward to listening to it every day as I'm catching up from the very beginning. Love you guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
4! Love you, Jen. Thank you so much for listening and paying attention.
If you are tuning in, this is your first podcast with us, welcome. We really appreciate you listening. And I encourage you to go back to the very beginning and just start fresh with us, because we do build, you get to know us just like, if you were watching a TV show series, you wouldn't start in the middle. I just think it's most people that have given us feedback just say like it makes so much more sense to start from the beginning. So please do, and let us know your thoughts and your feedback, and please share with a friend if you feel inspired to.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give another shout out to Kevin, because, man, first of all, just because I feel bad that we didn't share about it from the beginning. Kevin Paris, your music, man, for every time I listen to it on Instagram or on Spotify, on SoundCloud or anything like that, it kills me right off the bat. But that little track you guys hear under Sophie's sponsored part and the chosen food, that's directly taken from the intro to one of Kevin's song. His voice and the guitar playing he does, it's
and
just
the
so
messaging, everything that he sings about is just so beautiful. So go check him out, Kevin Paris.
I think at Kevin Paris Music is his handle. Go follow him on Instagram. He is the man. So yeah, we've got, Kim is not at all somebody I think that we would originally have thought of would end up on this podcast, because, we ended up really... When we started out, we were kind of like so focused on one version in our heads of what is relationships. But Kim, to me, is the example of what happens when we really expand the understanding of what kind of conversations we can have about relationships.
Well, yeah, I met Kim. We were doing a sizzle reel for this TV show, which actually is completed. I just found out yesterday, FYI. I don't think I told you, Adi, but...
this is top secret, y'all, so we can't share anything more than that.
Yeah, I won't be sharing the huge celebrity that sent me this email saying that the sizzle reel is completed, but I'll take your guesses.
Childhood dreams, y'all. Childhood dreams.
If you grew up in
reals.
If you grew up in the late 90s, early 90s, this was a very popular TV show, and she is one of the main cast members from that TV show. So
that's it. That's it. You can send us guesses.
Pretty dope. Send me a DM and guess on that one. So we're doing this sizzle reel. We just got completed. I just found out yesterday, and I met Kim, and I was blown away. She was so sweet to me. She loved Noah. She was just so kind.
She's so genuine and fun.
Yeah, super fun. And she did my makeup, which was really appreciated because I can't do it myself. I'm 34. I can't do my own hair and makeup. And she was just so amazing. And the conversations we had were just so loose and like as if we had been best friends forever. So I just really wanted her to be on here and share with you guys. I was like, you would be perfect on our podcast. Will you come be a guest like within the 10 minutes of first meeting her? So here she is, sharing her with all of you.
Yeah. And, such an interesting story when you hear, I think what I love about having guests like Kim is you look at people's lives from the outside and you think that they magically just work, right? Like, she was on American Idol. And so everybody goes, oh my God, that must have been such an amazing break for you. And, she's now married to a huge soccer star. And it kind of just feels like a fairy tale, like everything worked out. And what you're going to see or hear, I guess you can look at it too. But what you're going to primarily do is hear Kim talking about how she got to not just this place, but how she even got to American Idol. And surprise, surprise, if you guys haven't caught on yet with all the amazing guests that we have, is she's been working at this for decades, right? Like Kim was on star discovery shows and talent shows when she was a little kid, singing and dancing and doing all that kind of stuff. So I've got to tell you, when I started this journey towards what I would call my own success, whatever it is, 15, 20 years ago, I really felt like there are these people who just are gifted. Like,
yeah, she's gifted. Oh yeah.
Things just fall for them. But even with her voice, and she's beautiful, and like all the stuff and all her fun and all her energy, she's been working at this for like 30 years.
Yep.
And
working,
like,
not just waiting for things to fall into her lap, like
just
hustling,
doing the thing, putting one foot in front of the other and doing the thing. I mean, even when you hear about the relationship, I don't want to spoil this because you're going to hear it in the interview, but like she needed to work on this relationship and put things aside and make compromises and make decisions. And it sounds easy. I want you to pay attention. And she talks about it like in retrospect, it sounds easy, but it wasn't easy in the moment. It wasn't easy. Like Sophie, you and I have talked about moving a lot of times, probably like 4 or 5 times since we've met. I almost had a job in DC. We almost moved up north. Like, we've talked about moving to the East Coast. We've had a lot of conversations. And in the end, it's hard to make those decisions because uprooting everything that you do is difficult. We all feel comfortable where we are, and we don't necessarily know if that'll happen on the flip side. And she's done that a lot.
We've moved a lot. Just not out of the state. Like we've moved every 2 to 3 years since Kai was little. Within LA, but it's still, it's a big deal.
Right, but she moved to Canada, she moved to the East Coast. Sure. Like she was all over the place. And some of it was for love and for relationship and putting things aside and making decisions.
But most of it was work. They went to Canada for her husband's soccer team, and then they came back to LA for her husband's soccer team. And, that's really like a testament to a relationship is like, okay, my partner has a new opportunity in this new city where I won't know anyone, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to believe that coming to our relationship tip actually is that I'm going to be whole within myself. So I'm going to support my partner. But what our relationship tip is all about finding that wholeness within you. So in a really good, strong partnership, you have 2 whole individuals who make the team. Not one is completely dependent on the other and does everything for them. That exists, but that's not healthy.
I used to, when I was studying and we had a course on relationships, somebody described this to me in a really simple way to understand, which I love, which is there are T-type relationships. And if everybody just wants to hold their hands in front of them and put a T together, in a T relationship, there's one person who's standing up and another person who's fully dependent on them, right? Like if the base of the T moves, the top falls and is flat on the ground. Then there's a base relationship where both people lean on each other. If any one person moves, then in an A, right, if any one person moves, the connection between the two sides is gone, then both sides fall down. And that's another codependence kind of relationship, right? And then there's the interdependent relationships, the one that I like the best, which is the interdependent relationships are like an H. So both people are standing and they are tethered and connected to one another. But because it's like an H, if the connection is to separate somehow, the people are still standing up, right? They connect, and there's beauty that comes from the connection itself, right? It adds something to the mix.
But if
the connection goes away, you still have 2 people standing up. And so that's an analogy that I really, really like, that I heard in the past about this. And I like what you were saying before we started recording this about finding home in those places, right? There's so many cliches about this, right? But the first one that comes to my mind is home is where the heart is, and that's great. But it's easy to say in the context of what we talk about, and sometimes we're not sure where our heart is, and there's difficulties.
No, you know what I just thought is like a very literal, okay, where is your heart? In your body. You are at home in your body. Where can you find that wholeness, that sense of self, home in your own space.
Yeah.
It exists with you wherever you go. Like I moved around every year from second grade till college, till I moved to LA. Like every year I lived in a different home. Sometimes I would go to the same school, but I was moving year after year, changing schools a lot. And I had to find that sense of self. And that's why like I really think I'm so strong and like resilient when it comes to a lot of different situations, is because I just had to create that sense of self and home and wholeness within myself, even when my mom was like, okay, we're moving again. Okay, you have to change schools again, new friends, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's hard, but even with my friends who are in their 30s now and they're trying to attract a relationship in their lives, the thing that isn't working right now is that they haven't found that sense of wholeness within themselves. And if you can find that sense of wholeness just for you and that sense of home in your own heart, that's when you're going to attract your perfect partner.
Well, that's why I was saying a lot of the people that we work with struggle with figuring out where that is. So, I mean, around my work, you know this, a lot of the people that I work with aren't really sure where that is for them. They're not yet connected to their true purpose, where they feel comfortable. They don't know the good in them. They keep focusing on what's negative. And so it's so true, and yet not necessarily the easiest thing to find if you're not in that whole place in your own life.
Well, once again, this comes back to doing the work. This is what we always come back to, is if like, whether or not it's for a relationship or it's for, whatever it's for. If you're feeling lost, if you're struggling with addiction, if you're struggling with problems in your own life, if you're struggling with finding the person in your life that your partner.
If you're struggling with our concept of radical transparency in your relationship, that is primarily because there's work inside of you that you haven't completed. It doesn't have to do with your partner. It doesn't have to do with whatever it is just happened to you in a moment. We just dealt with this in our weekly chat, and I won't go into this in full detail because we'll save it for another episode. But a client of mine had gone through an issue where he went away on a work trip and something happened. He kind of got caught in a lie. And it took us an hour to process. But in the end, it was about him not feeling like a man and being challenged and saying, I have to do something I don't want to do to prove that I'm a man to these other people I'm around. And by doing that, he ended up lying to his wife, which then meant he had to backtrack back and forth. And we traced this all the way back to when he was 6 years old, having to prove to a cousin of his that he's a man, a strong enough boy at that time, by going hunting that he didn't want to do. And I was like, you started then to create this pattern in your life where I got to prove to other people that I'm something other than what I am. And you're still at 35 doing the same thing. And the beauty of it is you can let it go in a split second, because now as a 35-year-old man, you know that if you made a different decision at 6, you would have actually felt better about it. Like if you would have just said, so his cousin made him go hunting. If you would have just said to your cousin, look, I don't want to shoot an animal. I've got no interest in aiming a gun at an animal and shooting it. Go hunting, do your thing, and I'll be here. If he would have said that, he would have felt better about himself, right? But we don't know that as children. So we develop these really troubling patterns of behaving, and then we take those into our relationships, and we don't understand why people struggle with us. So if you do that work, and if you don't know how to do that work, by the way, we have an Ignited Relationship course that helps you in communication and intuition and all that kind of stuff, and we'll put a link to that.
Yeah, check out our relationship course. It works on sliding scale. So if you can't afford our highest price option, which is under $100.
It's like $96.
Under $100. It's the cheapest 3-hour course you're going to find.
Our therapy sessions were like $250 an hour.
Yeah. If you can't afford the higher price, then you can just pay the lowest. And if you can, if you're having a good week financially and you want to pay it forward, then you can get the highest price and pay it forward to someone else who can't afford it.
Yeah. And if you're struggling big time and there's like full on compulsive habits and all that kind of stuff happening in your life, I've got the Ignited Recovery Addiction course.
Yep. That
is great. Or we have the book, the Abstinence Myth book, that helps you kind of sort through a lot of these things in your own life. But do the deep work, and your relationships end up improving because you're no longer dependent on your partner to feed you. You can stand on your own 2 feet.
Exactly.
And with that,
without further ado,
we are going to introduce you to Kim. You're going to have a blast listening to her.
She's awesome. She's going to make you laugh. She makes me pee my pants, I'm going to be honest. And I really hope this show works out so we can all pee our pants constantly around her and like watch this amazing, I mean, she's
sorry
amazing.
guys, I have a weird look. I'm like, that's literally your challenge, is that hopefully you all pee your pants?
It means that you're really laughing and living your best life. So thanks for judging me.
I'm going to put
fuck shame.
Fuck shame indeed. All right, with that, we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye. This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fix all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
Hello and welcome back to this part of the Ignited podcast, our conversation component, and you guys are in for a treat today. We've got like an authentic celebrity.
She's a celeb, guys. Get ready.
This is fun. So I'm gonna do a quick.
I'm sorry. Define celebrity.
Somebody people would know even if they've never listened to us before and have no idea what Ignited is about.
Only if they're over the age of like 20.
Yeah. I don't know if you know or not, but I'm 42 and Sophie's in her almost mid 30s. Can I say that out loud?
No, I'm 34.
Yeah.
Let's be straight. It's not almost mid 30s.
Not almost mid. Sorry. Not almost mid. Early. She's in her early 30s. Just crossed over 30. And so I don't even know. Do we talk to anybody who's under 20? If you're under 20 and you're listening to this right now, I'm asking you personally to send Sophie or I a message and identify yourself.
Yeah.
We want to know our demographic.
No, that's not our demo. Great. I'm a very big deal here, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kim is joining us, and I want Sophie to talk a little bit about how you guys met. But I'm just going to do a quick little review because there's too much stuff. But everybody first found out about you because you were on American Idol in like season 2, back when American Idol was the bomb.
Back in the day when it was the bomb.
Yeah.
But what most people don't know is I'm a way bigger deal than American Idol.
Shit.
Way bigger.
I hold the most number of wins ever on the original Ed McMahon Star Search, Virginia.
What?
Wait, I'm dabbing right now, you guys.
Dabbing. She's dabbing.
That's
you guys can't see the video, but she's dabbing.
Oh, see, that's way cooler than being a finalist on American Idol. It's just that, I was 11.
That is so. I need a picture of this.
You would love. I just not that long ago on Instagram, I posted a picture of me at Star Search, and next door was. By the way, I'm Kimberly Caldwell Harvey. I don't think we ever got.
Sorry, we didn't even get to the whole name. That's how enthralled we became about your 11-year-old self winning.
How cool you are.
So I was on I was on Star Search, and Justin Timberlake, Ryan Gosling, and Britney Spears were all at the Mickey Mouse Club next door. So when they would get done filming, they would come over and like sit front row and hang out backstage and watch the show. So I just posted a picture of me and Britney and Justin and Ryan Gosling from the Star Search stage. When we will
have that. We will have a link to that picture for sure. And so, wow. So you started at 11 and then.
No, I started at 5.
Oh my God.
Tell us more.
Yeah, old labor laws. Where were those? Huh?
Seriously.
Tell us more, since our kids are somewhat involved in that world. Tell us about your 5-year-old self.
So my 2-year-old self was like climbing up on the coffee table, like screaming and dancing and jazz handsing and like begging people to watch me and sit in silence and let me perform for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then at like the age of 5, well, what's readily available in Katy, Texas, where you can put your child on a stage? Guess.
What are they called? Those beauty pageants. Beauty pageant.
Oh, so you did beauty pageants?
I was a toddler in tiaras, y'all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it wasn't like that creepy, you know, like that. It got a little creepier
later.
My mom always calls it. This probably makes her feel better. My mom always calls it our sport of choice. So, like, you know, all the other kids around that age were like in soccer every weekend, or they were in, you know, in doing whatever they were doing, choir or whatever they did on the weekends. And what we did on the weekends was beauty pageants.
Yep.
So we literally just had like the craziest, poofiest dresses. And we did like a beauty pageant every weekend from the time I was 5 until I was probably 10, 11. And that was like my childhood. And then at 11, I did Star Search. And then right after Star Search, I did 2 shows a day, 6 days a week in a production show in a place called Branson, Missouri. You guys have heard of that?
No.
So it's like an old people's Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought Vegas was for old people. But anyway,
I'm watching Ozark right now. So the only connection we have to Missouri is
Ozark. Yes, that's around the area. Is that?
Oh, wow.
So it's like this huge, it's like this little town of just like entertainers. So I grew up with like the Osmonds, second generation, you know, and those type of people.
I love it. I mean, I didn't even, by the way, everybody, just so you understand, like on my bio for Kim right now, I still have everything she's hosted for, from TV Guide to MTV to VH1 to CBS to E and the
I'm like, where did you get this bio?
And now, I mean, you're on the Steve Harvey show. Like the number of things that you still do to this day is pretty incredible in terms of how many different kind of areas of entertainment you circle around. We can't really quite yet talk about how you and Sophie met.
Well, like, we can talk around how we met.
Yeah.
It was just a women power thing that we're working on.
Yeah, it's going to be
we're working on, and we like hit it off right off the bat. I was like, "Give me the baby."
Totally. Noah was just born.
And I realized that it wasn't a real baby, and that it's a little robot baby that does not cry or poop. And she sleeps, and she's lovely, and she's perfect, and I want her.
It's true. By the way, for everybody, this episode is brought to you by Robot Babies by Ignited. We sell them for $50,000 a pop. If you want to shoot
I would pay way more than $50,000 for that.
$5 million. What?
Like the follow-up models.
I'm just saying, if I'm going to create this robot,
these are guinea pig robot babies.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like the Stepford wives of babies.
Yeah, we'll start it at $50,000, and then once we really get like to the Noah version, then that's when
I love it.
That's like millions.
Yeah, so you guys met, and it was funny. I would get pictures and videos from Sophie from the set. She goes like, I met this really cool girl, and she's like in love with Noah. And it would just be pictures of you like kissing on her belly and making out with my baby.
I was like licking inside of her ears. Like I love her. So I've always been like a baby person, and I've always been like the baby whisperer, and I've always been the one that if there's a baby or a kid in the room, that it was like me and the kid and the baby like in the corner. And then I'm sure this happens to you guys though. And then you like have a kid, and then like all of that like disappears. And I'm like, I know I don't want your child. I don't want to hold the baby. Like it's pooping, it's crying, fix that. But then now that my little girl's a little bit older and I'm not as like totally exhausted, she's going to be 3 in just a few days. She's awesome. And so I feel like, especially around like good babies, you know, I'm like, all right, come on, give me some of that, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get my baby fever again. But then I went off and I announced, I went off on Instagram and announced that I was, you know, like I want to start trying again, and we'd like to go ahead and, you know, try to have another one. And then literally the next day I got offered a job, like drinking wine on a show. So I was like, never mind, get your penis away from me. Thank you.
Wait, professionally, your job is now to professionally drink wine on a TV show?
I'm up for a potential wine drinking on a TV show job.
Wow. I love, how does that casting work? You got to walk us through that. So is that like they bring you in and then they
find the drunkest chick in the bar. They're like, she'll work.
That's the one.
Hilarious. You mentioned that when we were talking before, I mean, you still do a lot of these things. You still perform, you still sing. Recently, you actually got to sing the national anthem at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, I definitely sharped myself a little, but it was awesome. No, it was
the anthem
cool.
or like before?
So 10 years ago, I'm like, I didn't hear that. What did you say? Before or after?
Did you do it during the anthem or before or after?
It was right before.
Okay.
So I had to sit in that.
That's good.
No, anyways, I'm joking. I didn't actually sharp myself. Okay. Oh my God. America. Okay. So I did the anthem for the Dodgers a decade ago, which was so much fun, you know, but I feel like the older you get, like the cooler it is to do something like that. You know, you realize like what a big deal it is that you're at Dodger Stadium, that you're like in front of the players and the fans. And it's just like a privilege. It's like such a big privilege. And Jordan, my husband, so he plays soccer for professionally for LAFC, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But they came and got to do batting practice, which was cool. So while I was there, the girl that was like the booker was just like, hey, like, we'd love to have you back, but we only have like one day available. It was September 23rd. And I was like, oh man, we can't. There's a team event that we have to go to that night. She was like, it's during the day. I was like, darn it. So I haven't sang in a while. Like I do a show. I've done mostly TV hosting, you know, lately. And so I do like New Year's Eve shows in Cabo, which is like so much fun and you're drunk, so it's fine. And, but Dodger Stadium, like you can't mess that up, you know? And so it had been a while.
Look at what happened to Fergie.
So, I mean, but she didn't think she messed it up.
Well, she gave it I'm saying like she went off.
He did her own version, which I kind of learned at a very young age. You know, if you're going to do Whitney Houston, if you're going to do anybody iconic, you know, if you're going to cover anybody iconic, or if you're going to do a national anthem, then you got to just like stick it. You know, you just got to kind of do its thing. You can put a little bit of your own glitter on there, but it's got to like remain the same.
I know actually Christina Aguilera went through the same thing like a decade ago when she was making a little too R&B in one of her performances. And even about that, people went off. And Fergie went all jazz with it.
I think people are like trying to take the moment to like find their own connection with it and, you know, to like do their own thing with it. But it's just, for me, I felt like I was taught that at a really young age. Like there's some things you just don't mess with, you know. There's something that's really sacred to people, and you know, you go kind of moving those things around. People don't appreciate it.
You know, honestly, I think that might even be a good lesson. You know, Ignited is all about relationships, right? So we always bring things back to relationships, and I feel like that's probably even a good lesson for life, right? There are a lot of areas you can experiment with, a lot of areas that you can bring your own flavor to things, but there are also probably some areas, and they might all differ for us based on our culture and where we live and all those elements of our life. But there are some places that are kind of sacred. And I don't mean sacred in the religious sense. I mean sacred as in they mean so much to so many people.
Yeah.
It's really, it's not that you can't, but you're really putting yourself out there if you decide that you're going to break that convention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's if you've watched like Whitney Houston's or, you know, Pink or Jordan Sparks, you know, these women have like crushed the national anthem, and they did it their way with their, you know, flair and their vibe. But, you know, they just made sure to stay the course. And I think that's like the main thing. So I've kind of always done that with the anthems. I've sang for a Texans game before for, I'm like, what is that league? NFL. And then for, believe it or not, for the Major League Soccer, like All-Star game. And then for a few different soccer games and the Dodgers a couple of times. It was really cool. And in that moment, you know, and even beforehand preparing for it, I just kind of had to decide whether I was going to like, you know, let the nerves and let the excitement of it control me, or if I was going to like really channel that energy and find my connection to, you know, that higher power that has given me this gift and just kind of like have a moment with it. And I did. And it was so much fun, and it was such a good release. And I didn't realize how much I needed it until it was over. And then I was like, oh man, I want to go back out there, you know? So it was a really cool moment. Obviously like in general, but it was a really cool moment for me, like kind of internally.
So cool. When did you discover, I mean, it sounds like performing again has been there from the beginning almost for you. Yeah. Like Leo, I feel like Leo, our middle child now.
They're so the cutest kids.
I know, they really, really are. But Leo's a performer. Like he just loves, he'll dance. We were at a memorial, literally at a memorial. Well, it was a memorial at a gay club in West Hollywood. So I have to put the caveat in there. But
I was going to say, then that's your fault.
No. He got up on stage. So there's music playing because we're in the back part of this club. And Leo gets up on stage and starts dancing. And it was funny. We were saying, I was talking to another friend, like, I think he just found his calling. And I don't know if I meant by that dancing on the stage at a gay club or just performing, but I'm not sure. I guess we'll wait and see.
I was about to say, either way, I know you'd accept it.
Yep. Oh, 100%. But so performing was there for you from the beginning, it sounds. When did you discover singing? Because not everybody can sing.
So that was around the age of 5. So like I was begging to like be on a stage, and people say like, did your mom force you to do that? You know, and it's like, no, of course she like guided me to do it, but I really enjoyed doing that. Like it was such a part of who I was, like performing. And then in the pageants, there was obviously like talent categories. And so to do talent, I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll just learn a song. And then I think I learned Forever and Ever Amen by Randy Travis at the age of 5. And I had like this like red lame and silver fringe outfit with like a spray painted silver cowboy hat and spray painted silver boots, crushing life. And so I did it, and then I won. And so from there, I just kept doing it. And then by the time I was like 11 or 12, I had a book of around like 700 songs that I could do on command with any band. I had the key, and I don't play any instruments and never have really had a desire to. I can't focus long enough to do something like that. So thank God singing just sort of came naturally. And, but yeah, it was just kind of like always a part of who I was, and, it's like when it's not a part of my life, when entertaining is not a part of my life, I don't feel fulfilled.
It's funny when I see Leo, he does modeling, he does acting, and he's just constantly on in terms of performing. Like Adi said, he wants to dance, he wants to sing, he wants to move, he wants to be the center of everything. And he wants to make people happy, that's really what it comes down to. And I see that in you too. Like you make me feel happy when I'm around you, like all the time.
Like grabbing your butt. That's
you're grabbing my butt and telling me how beautiful I am and how good I look and how cute and perfect my baby is. But other than that, even if you were silent, I still feel that. Like it's interesting where it just comes back to that. Like,
yeah.
And I was just on set. He was doing a national Target commercial on Monday, 2 days ago.
Big deal.
Like the biggest. Wow. I've been working in commercials since I was 18, and the biggest job I've ever been on.
Wow.
Hundreds of people. A DJ was there, 2 directors, all the agency, just huge. And he was wearing a blazer, sunglasses, tight, skinny black jeans, and like, what's this called with the little thing coming out? Like a lapel.
I don't know. What is rubbing your boob
like
called?
A little like thing coming out of his pocket. Like
like a pocket square?
Yeah, a pocket square.
That's hilarious.
So he had to
a little thing coming out. I was like,
okay. Like, what is this called when you rub your boob?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, girl.
Pocket. So he had to drive this little Mercedes, like a little toy car, but like a little Mercedes SUV with a Christmas tree in the back of it. Like in the snow. Like this.
I can't wait to see this.
Listening to Drake, by the way.
And there's a DJ there. So he's driving the car. It won't really go fast because it's in the fake snow on set. And he's driving, no hands. They're like, Leo, put your hands on the wheel. And you're like, one, And then he's spinning around in circles, listening to Drake or Taylor Swift at full blast and just living his best life. And everyone is like, this kid, like, there's something about him. He's not just driving the car. Like, he is owning it. He is owning this role. It was made for him. And seeing that and witnessing that when I see him on set, like, yes, there's a lot of poison and toxicity in that world. I know that. You know that. We've been in it our whole lives. But there's this beauty to allowing a performer to just perform and live it and be in it. And everyone support that. And like seeing him, you know, most kids that are like him are constantly stifled. It's like, shh, be quiet, Leo. Calm down, Leo. Be quiet, Leo. Be respectful, Leo. And like constantly, it's coming from all directions. But
my mom, like they begged my mother when I was in school, like elementary school, middle school, begged her, put this kid on Ritalin. Like he cannot focus. She's like entertaining the class. And my mom was like, she's an entertainer and it's not happening. Get over it. Put her in.
Did you feel it? So I'm wondering from like Leo's point of view, from yours, what did it feel like at 5 years old to be able to command a stage and just get up there?
Natural. It was just a part of who I was. It wasn't, but the bad thing is then you hit puberty, then you get older, then all the crap gets in your head and then you overthink all of it. And then it becomes this like weight of like, oh my God, I have to entertain these people, you know, and everybody's watching me and everybody's going to judge what I do. And it's like, see, it's really hard to like maneuver through all the chaos of the outside world that comes in when you are just born with something that is natural to you. And then all of a sudden you realize that you are different. Like it wasn't, I thought that everybody was like that. I thought that everybody could sing and I thought that everybody liked, you know, performing and being on a stage and that just came naturally to people and it never did, you know?
What was that like?
When I realized that I was different, that's when it got hard. And that's when at like 14, I told my mom, okay, like I want to go back to school. I'd been homeschooling. You know, I was like, I want to go back to school. I want to go to dances. I want to have boyfriends. I want to get in some trouble. And I did. And so from like 15 to like 20, honestly, I was just a mess though, because I had no relief. And I wasn't allowing myself to have that thing that made me and accepting it. And, you know, I was like hiding it and wanted to cover it up so nobody thought that I was any different, you know. And then so it came a time at like age 21 when I auditioned for Idol. That was like my foot back, you know, my foot back into the industry. And thank God it went so well. And the day I was kicked off, I got a hosting job on, you know, for Fox Sports.
But just to be fair, I and a lot of other teenagers were a mess between 15 and 20, having never had the opportunity to truly be ourselves and just let go. So, you know, I think that's a pretty common age for people to lose their shit.
My shit was pretty lost.
We can have a contest about that. Maybe not. Maybe
it was lost. The keys were hidden for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And what happened is that I became angry though. And I became mad at the world because, it was something that I was doing to myself. I was, you know, making myself, I wanted to be like everybody else, you know, and by being like everybody else, I wasn't being true to me. Sure. So that's where I think the main struggle came from. And then there was like, my parents' divorce happened and I stopped singing and then I went back to school and, you know, and then it's like Texas versus, you know, Branson, which is like a giant difference. And there's a lot of different things, but you know, I survived. It
also sounds like, I mean, the theme here is, you know, when you're not tuning in and tapping into your
stuff,
your dharma,
your
power, your like whatever you want to call it. We have all these different philosophies and the yogic philosophy. It's called dharma, and dharma is, you know, dharma is like your life's purpose. Yeah. And when you're not on your path, no matter what age you are, but it's amplified 15 to 20, right? Like we're already judging ourselves, trying to blend in, trying not to stand out, all the things that most of us do as teenagers. But on top of it, if you you can't unlearn something, you can't unsee something, you can't like take away experiences. You had already been living in your truth as a performer. Most people don't tap into that right away. You know, like you don't usually figure out who you are till you graduate and you start traveling or go to college, and you already had that. So it made you feel even more lost because you were stifling it.
Yeah. Well, and then, and, you know, and when you're a kid, like you just want to be like everybody else. You just want to fit in. You just want to be normal. And then you realize that your normal is super different than everybody else's normal, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's way cooler to not be normal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're trying, like, it's funny because those are the concepts that we're definitely trying to drive home with Kai and Leo. Like, they're like, if someone calls them weird in school, they say, right, mommy, it's good to be weird. And I'm like,
yes, it is. And I'm going to get you a shirt that says weird as hell on it. And you're going to wear it to school.
I love it. Yeah, weird is good.
I asked, the other day, we asked Harlow, Jordan said, hey, you know, who do you play with at school? She goes, nobody, I just play with myself. And then Jordan was like, what? She's just playing by herself. I was like, have you met our child? Like, she's fine. Like, she is a social butterfly.
Yeah.
So, but I went to her teacher and I just said, hey, like, you know, she said she wasn't playing it with anybody. Is she? And she's like, little Miss Social Harlow is fine. And yes, she plays with everybody. And we're working on focusing, you know?
Right.
It's hard for Harlow to focus. And I'm just like, that's my girl.
Kai was like that. Kai, like, honestly, even he's in second grade now. And even last year, we kept having these conversations with his teachers and they'd be like, he kind of just floats around. He doesn't really have one person that he connects to. He kind of floats around and is just friends with everyone.
Yeah.
And like, is that a bad thing? I don't think so. Like, it's funny how like some kids find like their person and they're best friends with this person or that person, or maybe a small group of friends. Mm-hmm. And I think developmentally, there's a benefit to both. It's good to be able to be with everyone in a room when you walk into a room and still hold on to who you are. But it's also good to connect on a more intimate level.
But it's not like you get to choose. I mean, what I'm hearing is you were precocious. You liked having fun. You liked being a center of attention. You like telling jokes and connecting with people around. It's not like you were actively choosing that every day versus reading all day and sitting in the corner learning about, you know, remote scientists. It's just what came to you naturally. And I think we've realized that with our kids, they have temperaments. They have a bias, a slant, a disposition, a way that just feels more comfortable to them. And the question is, how do we help them do that kind of within the confines of what is okay so that they don't go maybe too far outside of what's...
But at the same time, just like you said, that, you know, you can't dictate if your child is the one sitting in the corner reading. I'd be like, oh my God, we did good. You know?
We have one of those.
We have one of those.
A smart one, you know? But yeah, and the same with Harlow. I'm just like, that's just who she is, you know? And at 3 years old, you know, good luck teaching her to focus. Like, you know, it's like, that's where they're just like, it's just, but the thing is, it's like so hard for her to even just sit down and like eat a meal. Because she's just like, you know, so all over the place. But I also feel like that's a toddler too. So I'm just not too worried about her. You know, she's probably like the least of my worries. Yeah. She's like the best kid of all time. She really is like super easy. And I always tell people she's like my best accessory. Drag her around with me everywhere. And she was born in Canada. She started going to her dad's soccer games in a giant stadium with 20,000 people at 2 weeks old, on the field with him at 2 weeks old, and has been to like every single game since. And we've traveled, you know, I don't know how many times. She's been on, I don't know how many planes and how many bars. You know, she just, wherever we go, she comes with us. And so she's really like worldly and social, and she's a really cool little chick.
So
I love her.
You mentioned Jordan. Harvey is your husband.
Yeah.
Plays for LA's new professional soccer team. And it's connected to what's a European counterpart? They have a European counterpart team. Sorry, I forget. Same owner. But he's been playing. How long has he been playing in LA? Because have you just recently moved back?
We did. So he was like a youth national, like the player of the year for youth national team in 2000 something. And then played at UCLA, got picked up by Major League Soccer, Colorado Rapids, and then went from Colorado Rapids to Philadelphia Union. And he's from Orange County. Oh, wow. I lived here for 12 years, and we met in a bar in Philadelphia.
That's hilarious.
With my mom and my guitar player doing tequila shots.
That's how you should meet your future husband and the future baby daddy to your 3-year-old.
Yeah. So I literally, like, the moment I saw him, I was like, crap. Because I was on tour. I had just released my album. I was very focused. And so I went out on a date with him the next day after we met, because it was just immediate. And went on a date, and then I just knew he was going to ruin everything. And so I erased all of our first date pictures.
Oh, what an asshole.
I know, like, it was 9 years later. I'm like, oh. Yeah. And then so we did long distance from LA to Philly, or I did long distance from LA to Philly for a little while. And then he got picked up by Vancouver. But his off seasons, which are only a couple months, his off seasons were in LA because that's where he's from. So that was nice. And then and then from Philly, he got picked up by Vancouver. And when he went to Vancouver, we were still trying to do the long distance thing. And so we broke up for like 24 hours because I was just like, this is too hard. I can't do this anymore. It had already been like over a year. And 24 hours later, I called him. I was like, fine, I'll move there. And so I totally thought I'd still be able to work in LA and live in Vancouver, which is completely and totally impossible. So I went, and I was like, for the first time in my life, I was what you might call normal. And I was like a housewife, and we got married, spit out a baby, and I was a stay-at-home mom, like, exclusively for 2 years. I had her in like 6 classes a week, as a baby. And it was amazing. We loved living in Vancouver. We lived right on the beach. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And then we found out that LA was having a new team, and we were like, oh my gosh, this cannot actually be real. Like, could this really happen? And then it came down to the 2 teams that he was a free agent. And the 2 teams who he was in negotiations with, or at least, talking with, not in negotiations, but talking with in this off season, it was either Houston, Texas, where I'm from.
Oh, wow.
Or it was Los Angeles, where he's from. It happened to be those 2 teams. And there was there was no connections or anything. It was just, so I was like, am I going to like go pop out like 6 more kids and have, a dog and have the dogs and live in a giant house?
Castle.
Mansion. Or next to my mother. Or am I going to are we going to go back to LA and I'm going to just like hustle my face off for the rest of my life, or for the rest of however long we're here? And then I found out it was LA, and we were like so excited, but there was a little part of me that was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to like do this? And what if like nobody even, what if I can't do anything or don't, and it was so scary. And then we got here, and I just kind of like hit the ground running. And like within the first week, I was filming the Steve Harvey show.
That's awesome.
I think
myself out there to get opportunities, but it's still scary, but trying to, stay
present.
Well, trying to stay also, unaffected by all the LA-ness.
That's what I was going to say is I feel like it's important to just note that, and that, even the people you think are the most strong and badass humans still question themselves, LA is not an easy place.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, it's just not. You can have whatever you want. LA is beautiful. I love that you can be whoever you want to be. You can.
And that's celebrated. Yeah.
And it's celebrated, and you can do what you want to do because the opportunities are here.
Yeah.
But it's also really hard. LA is hard. It's pretty competitive. It's hard to find your community because there's so many people here and so many different types of people. And it'll kind of spit you out. And I know a lot of people that have to leave because it just doesn't work out at that time. And, I just kind of think to myself, LA got too hard, and it just does. It can kind of like just beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
However, when you're in it and when you're in flow and when you're hustling your face off, it can also be the best place in the whole world because all the opportunities are right here. And especially if you're in the industry.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and it's a constant reminder. Adi and I are constantly like every couple of months, we're like, do we just fucking like sell all our shit and just work remotely?
I know, and just like go and live in like the middle of nowhere. I know, on a lake.
We could get houses like we fantasize about, and like houses in North Carolina. Like we could have this mansion and this pool and a fucking farm and like all this shit. Yeah. But like then we're like, but no, we won't be fulfilled the way we are here at this time, and that could change.
At this time, yep, exactly.
Yeah. So, this city is a lot. I've seen a lot of people spit out by LA, no doubt. I've been here now for 22 years. And
I feel like you can even be here and be spit back out and sucked back in and spit back out and sucked back in. I feel like that's been my journey, it's just been like, it's so intense, and I moved here when I was like 20, 21, and gosh, talk about a good time. I don't remember most of it, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the crazy thing is, you start comparing yourself to everybody, just like anybody in life. Like you start comparing yourself and you start thinking that you're behind.
But it's intensified here. Yes, it is like anybody, but it's intensified here because the most beautiful humans, let's just be honest, the most beautiful humans, the homecoming queens, the football, like the hottest guy, like
the most talented
individuals, the best artists, like everyone comes to LA to make it.
And they're like in community theater waiting tables at night. And they were like, they were the stars.
That's the thing though, is like, it's so, you just gotta like, everybody's on, I'm really starting to connect spiritually. And I had taken a hiatus from spirituality for a while, and it wasn't a good place for me, and I have recently really started connecting and feeling so calm and like grateful, and just starting to really own the fact that like, this is my path, this is my life, I'm who I am. I've been given a bunch of amazing things as well as whoever else. And these are my things, and this is what I'm doing. And, and trying to just like go at my own pace and like do my own thing and be creative and put myself out there. And that's the hardest part, is like being a creative person, you have all these ideas, and then what do you do with the ideas? It's scary to say, hey, this is an idea that I have. What do you think? Somebody who's a, big deal in Hollywood. And it's really, and what I'm learning is you might get 100 no's, but you might get one yes.
Sure.
And so if you keep like moving forward and keep like, believing in whatever your ideas are, it's like at some point, you'll probably, and the manifestation thing, I've really been trying to just, manifest positivity into my life and success and happiness and all those things. And I feel like that's starting to make like a really big difference in my attitude. And I deal with anxiety on a very like severe level, or used to deal with it on a very severe level. And I feel like I'm starting to like really be able to navigate that in a healthy way.
Yeah, we have a podcast, a 2-part podcast with Lacey Phillips on here for any of our listeners who didn't catch it. And it's all about manifestation. And it's something that like, I've just lived my life this way. And again, like you have to be born into like this reality, like someone who is at a different, socioeconomic status, or just isn't as privileged as someone who's probably listening to this right now. No, you can't necessarily manifest things at the drop of a hat, but you can with lots of hard work at this kind of reality. If you're listening to this podcast on your iPhone right now, like you're at a different level than a lot of people on this planet. And
or at least you have a lot of things that are, at least in terms of safety, addressed, where you can start paying attention to some of these higher things. And it takes work, but it's also about, and I hear this in you, Kim, it's also about belief and connecting, right? Because the work, a lot of people are willing to do the work, but you have to know where to put the work and what to target it on, which I think is important.
It's hard to like stay focused and just kind of like keep moving forward. But in Los Angeles, it's like, that's what everybody else is doing too. So you just got to keep moving forward.
Just keep flowing. So we ask our beautiful guests 5 questions every time, and we're going to get into that. And just the first thing that comes to mind, it's just to let people get to know you better and be inspired. So what's the best advice that you've ever received?
Well, I was just telling you before we started taping about my 91-year-old Grams. So she's my great grandma, she's my grandma. She's my daughter's great grandma. And she lives in Texas. I'm going to see her tomorrow for her 91st birthday. And what she told me my entire life, which I feel like I finally really am starting to internalize and connect to, is everything happens for a reason. You know, and it's not just like everything happens for a reason quote. You know, it's like everything happens for a reason, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to finally understand this. Like all the things that I asked for that didn't happen, they weren't supposed to happen. You know, all the things that I've asked for that did happen, you know, all those things were supposed to happen. I was in the right place at the right time. And I always will be, as long as I just, you know, moving forward and believing that, you know, everything's going to be okay. And I think that's the hardest thing to keep telling yourself, you know, is that everything happens for a reason. Therefore, everything's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. And she always says, if you don't know what to do, don't do anything at all. And I love that too.
Take a pause.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not going to full on be in it, then just take a pause.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no rush.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rush.
I know. So I think my Grams, anything that ever comes out of my Grams mouth, pretty much.
So sweet.
Yes.
What about your proudest moment?
Oh gosh, my proudest moment. I mean, you know, honestly, it's like, it sounds so cheesy, but you know, I've done a lot of really cool stuff in my life, and it's, you know, I had awesome experiences, and I leave proud of, you know, what I've done or the job I accomplished. But when my kid's like standing on the fireplace with a ukulele in her hand, singing Deep in the Heart of Texas, I could not be like more proud of any moment in my life. You know, I'm like, he is a good human with, you know, a big creative heart, and I'm just going to bawl and puke everywhere. I just love her so much. She's just the best thing that ever happened to me.
Nothing better.
So good.
Yeah.
Not to flip that on you, but what has been your hardest moment?
In which aspect of my life?
Pick
Anything.
one. Pick whatever comes to mind.
I talked about it. Depression and anxiety have completely and totally punched me in the face 4 million times in my life. And it's so insane. Just like Sophie said, it's so insane to look at somebody from the outside in and they go, well, you know, she's got a husband and she's got a baby and she's, you know, got this and that and the other. And it's hard to think, well, what would she have to be depressed about? But it's just an internal battle that I've been fighting for my whole life since I was a kid. And, you know, and it's still like a constant struggle. And I just am starting to really focus on just not allowing that to be a part of my life, which it's just a constant, like me pushing these, you know, these people called anxiety and depression, just literally forcing them out. And when they come in, just being like, you know, okay, you can come in for a second, but you cannot live here. You know?
I love that you're talking about that publicly, because, you know, obviously a lot of the stuff we do at Ignited focuses on people's struggles and helping them work through them. And it's so great. I mean, sure, American Idol, winning all these awards when you were younger, doing all these things, people get this image that therefore you must have no problems and no trouble. And to hear people who are viewed that way become vulnerable and say, look, I struggle with these things on a regular basis, and I have negative beliefs, and I have that voice in my head that talks to me that I'm, even with all this stuff, I'm worthless and I'm never going to be anything and nobody really loves me. I feel like allows so many listeners, probably literally listening right now, maybe crying in their car on the way to work, to just say, then I'm okay, right? If Kim can experience this with everything she's gone through and everything she's succeeded and everything she has, then I'm okay that I have those struggles as well. So thank you so much for being able to speak that loudly.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, you know, I just think it's so important to like take it seriously.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can just swallow you up, and all of a sudden you've been in bed for a couple days, and you just like you literally in this fog and like can't function.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really suffocating, and you just got to kind of like push through it. And like I said, I'm starting to allow it. I'm allowing myself to feel those things, but like I said, I'm not allowing them to sit around long.
Sure.
Like I used to. I used to let them suffocate me and live inside of me. And now I'm like, all right, you can come visit because I know you're a part of who I am, but you cannot live here. You cannot stay here. You are not going to be a part of this.
What is your self-care ritual? It's the next question, but how do you take care of yourself to try to make sure that those things get as little time in your brain as possible?
Sophie said, it's like the staying present thing. Really like opening my eyes, really looking around me, really realizing everything's going to be okay. Really realizing that like I do have it good, and it could be worse in some ways. It could be better in some ways, but where I'm at right now, I'm in a good place, and I just need to like allow myself to be in a good place and to be grateful and to be aware of the fact that most things aren't a coincidence. Like most things are because you're channeling that into your life. And so I'm really starting to like come to that realization.
I have a journal I use every morning, a 5-minute journal. Do you journal anywhere? Do you have a tool that you use to allow yourself to be present and come back to the moment?
In the morning, I look in the mirror and I talk to God and have my moment, and try to like just visualize not only my God, but visualize being protected by that. And so that when I do put myself out into the world, if you have your negative shit or your drama, I feel kind of already protected at the beginning of the day so that your shit can't come into my shit. I already got my own shit. I don't need all your shit.
You don't need it.
So, but at the same time, it's like, I want to be sympathetic to people's shit because everybody got shit. How many times can I say shit? But I think but I think that it's like, I think that's what I do is as much as I, at the beginning of the day, protect myself, I feel like that also allows me to be more vulnerable and accepting to other people's situations and non-judgmental, but just not allowing it to like affect me.
That's great.
Like their stuff to affect me. Yeah.
That's great.
And then last question. This show is called Ignited. And what ignites you?
What ignites me? Wow, my husband. He ignites my fire. He does. He really does. He's just like y'all are going to wind up having me cry at early in the morning. He does. He lights me up. I just love him. He's my biggest supporter, my best friend, best sex I ever had. He definitely ignites me. And I also get really ignited around other women who have a voice and other women who are owning their own talent or their own thing and and delivering that to the world. I obviously find that like super inspiring and definitely like lights a little fire in your butt when you're around like a bunch of other, not only cool, powerful women, but also like cool, powerful moms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it's like, that they're going through what you're going through too. They probably keep under their fingernails and, boogers in their hair, not their own boogers. Yeah. And they still showed up and they still, are like doing their thing and living their life for themselves as well as their children. So I just think it's really cool. And I mean, any moms in general, it's like, the mom code. You kind of just like look at them like, yeah, I got you. I know.
That's awesome.
You got this up, girl. I know.
That's awesome.
Totally.
You guys are warriors. No doubt.
That's right. And what a cool husband you have that he's just like all accepting and uplifting and supportive of you and all the badass chicks you surround yourself with too.
Oh yeah.
She's incredible.
Biggest supporter.
Yeah. It took a while it took a while for us to find this way. I mean, I always obviously, I'm sure your husband would say the exact same thing as you were here right now. I always saw this light in Sophie, and part of our process has been to allow her to find and really tune in so strongly. And now she's tuning in more and more into it. It's like she's unstoppable. It's magical to watch. Really cool.
Well, it's a really cool feeling though to have somebody in your life that's like, you know, 1 minute he's like the annoying guy that didn't put the toilet seat down, that's like scratching his balls watching football, and I'm just like, oh, you know. And then the next minute he's like, hey, listen, I just wanted to like tell you how proud I am of you, and like you're just like kicking ass, and you know, look what you've accomplished. And I'm just like, hey. You know, I'm just like, oh my God, you're so my person. And you like, and the cool thing is like, I can't believe I found somebody that loves me for me. I don't got to be nobody else. And I mean, he's tried to, you know, tame me because I embarrass the shit out of him on a normal occasion, on like a daily basis. So I feel for him. I feel badly for him, but he's starting to realize that there is no taming this crazy lady.
Can't tame that.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Like I'll say something and everybody, you know, in the group or the room is like, oh, she did not just say that. And Jordan's like completely so unaffected, like didn't even hear it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. He's just like, no, the shock factor has worn off.
That's hilarious. I feel like next time we got to have Jordan on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He'll tell you. He'll tell you all the things. Both of us are like legit open books.
That's awesome.
On Steve Harvey's show, we talk about sex and relationships. And he comes with me most of the time and is always like in my eye line on the other side of the stage, you know, and I'm literally airing all of our dirty and clean laundry. And he's just over there like thumbs up, you know, like, yeah, killing it.
Awesome.
Tell him about my penis.
So cool.
You know, so yeah, it's pretty cool. He's just like supportive in all areas.
That's awesome. That's
gotta
wonderful.
find your person.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you and Sophie
moved to Canada for him. So it's like, you better support me.
Yeah.
Okay. Move to Canada.
And you popped out a baby.
And I shot out a baby out of a tiny little hole in my body.
Yeah. I still don't.
I said, oh my God, I have to tell you this. We saw on Instagram yesterday a guy that had these labor pain simulators. Have you heard about this? And he was like, it was like on a 4, like dilated to a 4. And he was like losing his mind. He was like purple. Jordan was like, I'd try that. I was like, I would love every second of you trying. I would like crank it to 10.
That's
anyway,
amazing.
I thought that was really,
that's amazing.
Really yeah.
Next on Ignited, torturing men.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you and Sophie connected. I love when Sophie connects to other really strong women who own their shit, because, you know, again, we're in LA and sometimes you know, there are people who bring you down when you're successful, and to have other women who support you is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I think that's the hardest thing, is surrounding yourself with people who are like truly happy for you instead of the ones that are, and maybe inspired by it and pushed forward by it instead of deflated by it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure everybody is loving. They're laughing. They might have sharded themselves as well right now, and had a blast with this.
That means we did a good job.
We did. It's perfect. Exactly what we wanted to. Enjoy your trip. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Love everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.